Okay, I think Sarah's got us streaming on YouTube, and we're here at the Education New Member Meetup for the e-NABLE Foundation, and we have John Scholl, co-founder of e-NABLE, and Layla and Sarah. And Layla, where are you from?
I'm from New York.
Cool. So my name is Ian Roy. I'm a faculty member at Brandeis University. We've had an e-NABLE chapter on and off, but we use the e-NABLE content to teach open source assistive hardware. And I think this meeting is a great place to think about two major topics, how to get into the e-NABLE ecosystem and where to start and troubleshooting around that, and then also how to integrate e-NABLE into schools, colleges, curriculum, and have it supported a little longer term as student-driven projects. And I see we also have David joining us. Hi, David. We may have a few more people hopping in. David, how are you?
I'm well.
We were just doing quick intros, maybe just a quick intro of who you are and the e-NABLE focus that you're working on today.
Who am I? My name is David. I have a background in some design, and I am helping um, design some projects with the hope of having them be a little more sustainable and a little more general. I think a lot of the projects we have like a specific person, we build a thing for them or a group of them, and then we kind of put it out. And the projects I'm
See, he
working
was
on
already on the
kind of
train.
the opposite of
You
that.
just said from
Yeah,
Penn to.
a little more general, and the hope is that they'll be easily modified for people to use for their specific cases.
Yep.
Design synthesis, very cool. And Layla, is there a topic that you would like to discuss in this week's meeting?
I'm just here to discuss my journey and how e-NABLE has kind of helped me get started with this.
Excellent. Maybe that's a great place to start if you want to jump into that.
So I have a presentation. Should I share my screen? Is that possible?
Yeah, let's go to that, and then we'll go to David, and then we'll see if John and Jonathan want to talk about other things.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Let me just. I think I have to request sharing to the host. Okay, perfect. Okay, can you see can you see it?
Yeah, it looks great.
Great, thanks. Okay, so hi, I'm Layla Almazelli. I'm an Egyptian American and I live in New York now. So I've been 3D printing prosthetics for almost 2 years. And at first I kind of just started by printing out little small things before I found the e-NABLE network. So how it started was that I love hands-on projects since I was really young, and it kind of started over COVID when I started baking, and then I made my own soap, and I even tried to turn it into a business. And I even made my own lip gloss and my own dress, which I wore to my cousin's wedding last December. So every summer I visit Egypt, where my family's from, and I see how limited access to healthcare and technology can be, how much it affects your community. And 3D printing stood out to me kind of as a powerful, low cost tool to help bridge that gap. And so now with printers costing only $180, I realized that I could use this technology to create affordable prosthetics for people who really need them. And it's a way for me to kind of use my love for hands-on projects to make an impact. So I first started by just printing the different hands on the e-NABLE website. So this is the Phoenix hand. This was the first hand I ever printed. And then this is the Alfie arm. And then the kinetic hand came out by Free 3D Hands. And this one to me was very different compared to all the other hands that I ever printed. It was much easier to print and it was much smoother than all the other hands. And the design of it and functionality was just superior to all the ones I've ever tried. And then this hand even comes with palm variants. So there is one with no thumb, which is the two blue ones you see on the left and up top. There is one with like no thumb and no index, which is the yellow one right in the middle. And then the pink one right next to that is no thumb and no little finger. And this one actually wasn't available, and I had to create it using Blender for a case that I had. And because they had one that was thumbless and they had one that had no little finger, and I had to combine them for a case in Indonesia. So yeah, and then I uploaded these files to Thingiverse. Do you have a question? Do you want...
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to
Sorry.
interrupt you, but I
No,
do
it's
have a
okay.
bunch of questions. So are all of these prints that you have done yourself?
Yeah, all these photos are hands that I've printed myself, not necessarily for cases, maybe just like for fun, not all of these. But yeah, these are all things that I've printed.
And all of roughly how many cases have you like done? One or
Like
just
I've done around more than 20 cases now.
okay, wow. So you've done more than most people by a long shot.
Yeah.
How do you find them?
Yeah, so wait, that's like a slide, or do you want me to
Okay,
just tell you
sorry,
now?
I'll
No,
wait to
it's
try this.
fine. Sorry. Okay, sorry. And then this is also just another arm that I've printed, the Kawaii one. So then the next thing that I did was in summer of 2024, I went to Egypt and I interned at a nonprofit called Hand in Hand. And there I learned much more about 3D printing and using CAD software to adjust parts for each recipient. And in Hand, they use a 3D scanner to get a 3D image of the recipient's residual limb. And they used this to get like a perfect size prosthetic for the recipient. And I had the opportunity to do a whole case there from start to finish and use the 3D scanner, which was very cool. And it was an amazing opportunity because it helped me get started in CAD design and actual cases since I had not taken my own case yet. I had just been trying like printing hands and arms. And this is just some of the work that they do. And something that was really cool that I'd not seen before is that they were doing lower limb prosthetics with parts that they got from Germany. So you can see like the photos of that above knee and below knee prosthetic leg. And this is all done for free. And then when I got back from Egypt, the kinetic arm had came out also from Free 3D Hands, and it was also such like a game changer compared to all the other arms I had tried. And I just really loved this like kinetic hand and arm design. And this is just all the pieces of that arm. And then I finally started getting real cases. So my first case was a boy in the Philippines named Kyle, and his friend had reached out on e-NABLE asking if anyone can help. And this, since it was my first real case, I wasn't really sure which arm would be best. So I made two arms, the kinetic arm and the Alfie arm. So this is the printing of the kinetic arm, you can see. And then this is me assembling it. And so these are some photos I got back from Kyle. So this is him trying on the Alfie arm. And then this is him trying on the kinetic arm. And he seemed much happier wearing the kinetic arm, and it was much easier for him to move. So these are just photos I got back, and I love getting photos back because it kind of helps me see my impact and helps me keep going despite any challenges I might have had when making it. And then this is a nice little video of him when he got it. It was so nice to get back from his mom. It's just him dancing, and it was really sweet to see. And then I continued taking cases. So this is a girl in Pakistan named Manahil, and she was 10 years old, and her teacher had reached out asking if anyone can print her arm. And these are all kind of on just the e-NABLE forum. This is like where I started first getting cases. And this case had a problem because her residual arm was too long for the kinetic arm. So I actually reached out to Matt Botel at Free 3D Hands, who designed the kinetic arm, and I asked if he could help me out. And he was in Australia, so he was very kind and he designed a custom arm for her that would fit, and he emailed me the files so I could print it out here in New York and send it to her. So these are some images of me making the arm. And something cool about the kinetic arm that was not in any of the other arms I tried was that they use silicon for grip. So that's what you see on the top right, me making the silicon and putting it into the molds that I 3D printed. And then this is her when she got it back. Her school made a huge celebration with this arm, and they even made a YouTube video about the arm, and that's the QR code. And then this is the video here. This is like here, one part really quick. This is the teacher that actually reached out. And then later in the video, you can see she kind of talks about her experience. And
अस्सलामुअलैकुम मेरा नाम मनाहिल है और अभी पहले मेरा हाथ नहीं था अभी सर मुराश ने आर्टिफिशियल हैंड मेरे जो
and she just kind of talks about how much she was grateful, and it just really shows me my impact, and it really helps me like realize the like how much I'm helping people just by making these prosthetics at my house. So then But then I faced another design challenge actually, and her arm had broke around 2 weeks after I gave it to her. And so the teacher reached out again, and I quickly created two more arms. So one was using PLA plus, and the other was using PETG, which are both stronger than the original PLA I used. But PETG is like the strongest of them all. And since it was so strong, it was very hard to print, and I needed to change the speed and the fan setting on my printer. But after this experience, I started only making the devices in PLA plus, which was easier to print, but still very strong and able to withstand a lot of like issues if anyone had. So this is how I find cases. So either like their posts on e-NABLE Hub or at the Web Central, or I like browse the Web Central for old cases and I reach out to the creator, making sure they received the device. And this is actually how I got one of my later cases, which I'm going to talk about later. And then also e-NABLE's Discord and the North Cal e-NABLE for Uganda. So these are just some other cases. This is a 6-year-old Alexandru in Romania, and actually his mom reached out to us again recently and asked if I could make another one for him for his birthday because he's like he grew up and he needs a new size. And then this is one Mikey in Nevada. And he actually got his designed from his mom's friend, a tattoo artist, and he got all these cool designs on it and he sent us photos, which I thought was very nice. And then these are just some other cases, Weijing in China. This was my first time doing a thumbless kinetic hand. And then in the summer of 2025, I had the opportunity to go to Free 3D Hands and work with Matt Botel, who created the kinetic hand and arm. And his whole team was so welcoming, and I got the chance to print and assemble more arms and hands there. And I was also taught a new CAD software called SolidWorks, which he used to create the kinetic arm and hand. And then I also got to work with their biomedical engineer while they were brainstorming for new tools for the prosthetics. And one idea was creating a tool that could be connected to the prosthetic to create shopping bags. So this is just kind of what I did, a little timeline. I even met Chuck Hull, who is the inventor of 3D printing, and he was like filming a documentary there. So then this is just some work. They have like a whole wall of all the cases that they did. And then this is the tool I was talking about. So it was like he connected it to the end of the prosthetic hand, and we even got to stress test it. So you can see in the middle where it's actually holding a bag. And we also went outside and even like tried to like stand on it to see how much weight it would withstand. So after like Australia, I actually added the kinetic arm files to the e-NABLE collection at like the NIH website so it could be open to anyone. And I am currently doing an independent study at my school exploring the bionic arm. And I connected with a high school in Egypt to help answer questions about e-NABLE. And they printed their first hand, and they're actually in the process of creating a chapter at their school. And I'm now trying to connect with a clinic in the West Bank near like Palestinian occupied territories to help establish a chapter there too, because I helped someone create an arm for a little girl there. And so this is the case I was talking about. This case, which I just shipped out actually. So I was browsing cases that already had a volunteer assigned, and I emailed the creator on this one asking if they got a device, and they replied that they had a volunteer who was working with them. But then around 2 months later, I got a message from the case owner saying that the volunteer had stopped responding and there was no communication for a month. So he was wondering if I could help make a hand for his mom. It was the son who was reaching out. And so I'm hoping that it arrives soon and that it is a good fit. And like finally, what I've just been currently doing is fundraising for Hand in Hand. So by baking cookies and selling them at like my local train station, I've already raised $2,000. So that was great. So thank you so much. e-NABLE has honestly been such an educational journey for me, and I'm thankful for its existence. It gave me something rare, a way to learn engineering by actually doing it while making a difference in someone's everyday life. The open source idea means that anyone with nothing but a printer and curiosity can be part of something meaningful. And this is not just like a one-time volunteer experience. Every hand that I make goes to a real person whose daily life changes because of it. And I'm endlessly grateful to this community, and it honestly started everything for me. So thank you so much.
Wow,
Layla,
amazing presentation.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Layla. That was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
We are, I think I can say we are collectively blown away. And frankly, I think you put all of us and some of our members to shame. You have managed to um, understand and do everything we have been trying to make possible. But most of our volunteers, because the site is not streamlined, have not been resourceful enough to crack the code the way that you have. Layla, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Where are you in your own trajectory, and what are you doing this summer, and so on?
So currently I'm a junior in high school. So this summer I actually am interning at a place that's using 3D printing to build houses. I just like met with the person, and it's at like LSU, so in Louisiana. And yeah, I'm just really excited for that opportunity. But I'm still in school, so I don't really know. But I know I want to like major in engineering, and I definitely want to continue doing this work.
You know, Brandeis has an engineering major launching this fall.
Really? Wow.
What type of career would you want to go into? The medical career? Would you do something? Is there a style of engineering you're interested in?
I honestly am not very sure. I've been interested in like biomedical engineering, and I have always like kind of wanted to do something in that like medical field. Like I think all that like I just really like helping people. I just think that is very interesting to me. So I definitely just want to continue exploring and see what I can do in the future.
Super cool. And I think trying another scale of fabrication sounds really exciting. Those concrete or contour crafting machines are a totally different scale of work. I can't believe you've traveled all over the world with this too. And we have touched maybe 20 recipients with 100 outreaches plus. What's your outreach like? Or you have like 100% hit rate where like everyone you reach out for, you end up making a device for? It's very rare.
Um, Not exactly like 100%, but it has been very good. Like I feel like the communication is like I don't know. I feel like yeah, you're right. Like I kind of figured it out and like I'm able to communicate with whoever I'm making a case. But yeah, sometimes it's like harder to continue reaching out to them, or sometimes like I send a device and I never really get a response back if they got it.
Yeah, yeah, we've had a lot of that. Like the feedback loop you've been able to get with some of these clients is amazing. And when you found your way in, how did you find your way into the e-NABLE hub? Did you go to a town hall? Did someone send you to the web page? I'm always interested in how people navigate the system.
So I like just like followed the directions. I think I like found a website that kind of like told me how to get there, and I was like very interested, so I definitely continued trying. And it was kind of a struggle in the beginning, kind of figuring out like exactly where to go, but I don't it like got easier over time, and I was just able to like get there.
Super cool. I'm sure David has
Yeah.
some questions as well.
I know John does. Let's let John go first. I'll wait to the end.
So, Layla, we have town hall meetings. We had one from 11:30 to 12 today, in the prior half hour to this meeting. where we look at activities on the hub. People ask questions, and we all make up answers based on our uh, experience, but none of us, not a single one of us, are quite as sophisticated and resourceful as you. I'm wondering whether I could persuade you to become a regular moderator at our monthly town hall meetings, because I think you can answer most of the questions that arise better than, uh, certainly better than I can.
That seems like an amazing opportunity. I definitely would be open to like coming. It is very like junior year, I don't know, it's very stressful right now, but I definitely would come to like a town meeting and like see what it's like for sure.
Okay, well, so listen, Sarah will follow up with, for example, a recording of today's meeting or a recent meeting, and you'll see that really all we do is look at new posts on the hubs and try to offer some helpful guidance. But I think you could do that really, really well. For that matter, you don't have to do it live, but I think it would be great for you to do it live. It's not my turn, but I'm wondering, have you found other e-NABLE volunteers who are, if you will, in your league, or who you collaborate with, or who similarly might be persuaded to show their heads and lead the way?
I don't really know anyone, but I have like helped some e-NABLE volunteers, like Raffley, I helped with a case before. So maybe I could like reach out to them, but I have not, I don't like personally like know anyone.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope this is the first of many conversations.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful presentation,
Thank you.
but an even more wonderful history.
No, and I think that as you continue to give this presentation, you got to front load with like who you are. Like
Okay.
the fact that you are a junior looking for your next step into higher education, I think is an amazing anchor for how much you've done.
Thank you. Yes.
Can I add some geeky technical follow-ups too? And I'm sure David has some similar ones. Uh, what 3D scanner were you using?
Um, in like Egypt, the 3D
Yeah,
scanner,
do you know what manufacturer or what model or anything?
I've searched it up so many times, but I really
Yeah,
don't remember the name. I can find it and like send it to Sarah
it
or
was
like
like a handheld one that you
yeah, it
kind of
was
like
handheld.
walked around
So
the
it was
object.
only like a little like rectangle kind of, and
Okay,
you just like held it and you just like went around and it came up on the computer, like the scan that
cool.
you got.
And then I'm curious about then how did you adapt the file that you scanned to use with the model that you were fitting?
So what this was when I just got started, so I wasn't very good at this, but the like actual workers there, how they did it was what they like got the 3D scan and they just imported it into the CAD software they were using. And then they also imported the file of the hand and they could kind of see if there was any like I don't know, like if the hand was too big at one part, they were able to adjust and like expand because they saw them like right next to each other.
Do you know what software that was?
It was something in Egypt, so I'm honestly not really
Yeah.
sure. It wasn't like a mainstream one.
So this is one of the key technical challenges of this whole open source hardware community is how to do that step. And there's a group that met in this meeting last time we met, like 2 weeks ago, from ASU. And it's a group of, I don't know, Sarah, how many, like 5 to 10 graduate students at ASU researching
Yeah.
exactly this topic that you just touched on? I'm sure they would want to interview you about how you see that process because they're trying a bunch of different ways to solve that exact problem.
Yeah, I actually watched the video when you were talking about the ASU students and you were talking about like the different ways that they were going about it. And also, I can connect you to the people in Egypt if you would want, and you can ask more questions, or like I can ask them and let you know.
That would be amazing because I'm sure that team would want that R&D intelligence.
Yeah.
And so if you watched last week, you saw that we were also pushing on the agentic side of what can be done with like new models and new agents to affect these. Have you played with any of those tools yet?
I haven't done anything with that yet.
I can't wait to see what you do with those tools because that's like the next sci-fi level that's gonna do our next 10 unlocks.
Yes.
David, I'm wondering where you are, what you're thinking about. I know you're thinking things.
Yeah, so it's I always try to wait till the end. Hopefully someone else has answered my questions. But I think the first thing is your ability to tell the story is uh unique, never independent of your age. I mean, even like right, even John Scholl trying to get you to come to a monthly meeting, and you like very delicately say I'd be open to it. I mean, the way you even just navigated John Scholl's question is incredible. I mean, people in their mid 30s kind of lack that prowess. So I think to me that your storytelling is really the most impressive part. And that's not to discount the work you've done with recipients.
Thank you.
I'll just kind of quickly say my background is actually in medical devices. I was a mechanical engineer for the last 10 plus years. I worked on surgical robotics. I worked on wearables. I did some work on prosthetics. I've been with e-NABLE for about 10 years, and I think I've had fewer successful recipients than you have. Part of that is on and off, but I will definitely say I was not nearly as persistent as you. And selfishly, I think if you are able to put even in a note form kind of your workflow or how you advocate other people to find and collaborate with recipients, and then to flip that and make it both for donors as well as recipients. So recipients see how do people reach out to them. That would be
Yeah.
don't sign yourself up for that just yet. But I would say that if you're able to kind of condense that learning into a one-page document for us, that would be huge.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. I think I can do that.
The first question I always ask people is, how can we support you? Right? What can you have, Shoal, Roy, Alan Tuck here, you have Sarah, Hogavan. What can we do to make your workflow, your anything better? Maybe your daily life, right?
Honestly, you've already done so much just by helping me like get into this. Like right now, I'm just raising money right now. I don't know if there's anything you guys could do with that, but you guys have already done so much.
I mean, I'll even challenge you a little more. When you make the hands, do you observe that some of the parts are very similar, right? If there's one, maybe the palm, you're like, the palm is predominantly pretty similar. Um, there are ways, that's one of the things I'm kind of looking at is, can we standardize some of those parts so we can move a few of them away from 3D printing? They can be a little easier to make in volume. It's not something you have to kind of answer immediately on the spot, like here's a tiered list, but it's something to keep in mind, right? You've provided us with a ton, and as I'm sure you encounter, e-NABLE is full of people who want to help. So let us help you. And even if it's maybe you don't want to 3D print everything yourself, I'm sure you could find people to help you 3D print the parts or to assemble them or to do CAD changes are quick work for me. I've been using SolidWorks for 15 years now. And I have pretty good experience going from like full scan to point cloud to STL to modifiable step file to printed to like, I have some experience in that realm. So if you're ever like, hey, I don't have something that does this, right? It's one thing. Feel free to reach out, and I'll shoot my email as well.
Okay.
Also, if you want to just pick my brain about engineering stuff, I'm also always happy to chat about that. Okay, so I asked you, how can we support you? So far, you have not given us anything to go on, but it doesn't expire when this chat ends. It's important to note that. The other thing is, if you could change something about the way you do this moving forward, right? You've been doing this a certain way for now, and the future is kind of looking at it. What do you think would make it easier? What do you think would make it a little faster? Or do you think that you're like, this is the way we're going to do it for the next year? Maybe we'll reevaluate.
Well, right now I was kind of working on making like a finger, just that, because there was someone who reached out to me and he like just needed a finger. And I couldn't really find one that worked on e-NABLE for him. But
Did you
like
find the one on NIH? There's like an okay one. It uses a string wrapped around your wrist, sort of, and a single finger actuation from something similar to kinetic logic.
I did not see that, but I found one on like YouTube that kind of shows like all the parts, and I was trying to like make the parts by myself on like CAD because it wasn't very like specific, like showed you actually everything.
Let,
So
let
I
me
was
send you the link to the one that's kind
okay,
of
thank
partway there. It might accelerate you a bit.
That's a
well, like,
that's a great example. Is like if you're like, hey, I have this thing, it's half cooked. I don't necessarily have the CAD skills yet to get this
yeah.
to the point where it's better than okay, where we want great. Um, feel free to reach out. That is,
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much.
yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm just trying to
There's a link to the single finger. We
Mhm.
have sent
Oh,
out like 2 of those, I think. And it's a fairly simple, adaptable design. I think it's probably links to the video that you found there.
well, yeah, I actually did try this one, but for the recipient, he like already had one of the like he had an extra knuckle already, so it like wasn't exactly fitting with him. So I needed to like kind of adapt to make one for him, but he yeah, but like this one we did try and it worked for a different case, but this one didn't really work for the exact case I was doing.
Yeah, it's probably the closest other than like something like the lobster thumb, which you
Hmm.
could also adapt a piece of, probably.
Yeah.
Definitely requires a remix.
Yes. Okay. Thanks.
The other thing I was kind of curious to ask you about is um, one thing I had started to talk to someone is about whether it would make sense for us to look at carbon fiber for some of those from some of the hand parts. Um, I'm it's a little bit of ways away, but I'm curious if you have any thoughts on either carbon fiber and or if your experience, if you feel like we could do some. The tricky part about doing carbon fiber is we wouldn't be able to do it. It would be hard to do in every size, right? When you right now you're able to size the model for different people, and so
Hmm.
I'm wondering if you think that there's flexibility. Um, we need that flexibility, if that makes sense. Like if we need every part to be slightly different for every person.
Um, I think that would be really good in the future, but like right now, I do think that like the hand is very it like works a lot. It works well for a lot of people, but I think if like you were able to make it so that the carbon fiber could like be not like perfectly fit, but like very close to like perfectly fit for each person, despite like if they have any like kind of like abnormality with their residual limb, I think that would be very cool. But honestly, right now, I think that the hands that are available on e-NABLE are working very well and like it works for like at least for all the people I have worked with so far.
Yeah. Let me. I send you my email. Let me
You know,
know.
the one
Sorry, go ahead, John.
one concern I've had about the kinetic hand, which is such a beautiful piece of work, is that those flexible joints actually require, for the time I saw, require a great deal of force in order to actually cause it to close. I'm wondering if you have found that, and given the beauty of the kinetic hand, I wonder whether working on making those joints would be a good acupuncture manipulation just in order to address what may be one deficiency of that beautiful design.
Did you
You have
get
any
the gist
comments
of
on
that?
that?
We
Have
were losing
you?
you a bit,
Sorry,
John,
yeah.
but I think John's pointing to 2 things, which is that with the like TPU or silicone joints to make the fingers actuate, they take more force
Have
to
you
actuate and they have
seen
less grip
that?
strength.
Um, what I found was with the silicon, they actually had, I don't like they had a lot of grip. It was easier to like hold things even when like I just tried it out like at home, just like moving it. But because also for the hand that they made a silicone palm, so everything was like kind of covered, like all sides of whatever you were holding was able for the grip strength. And then what about the TPU? Sorry.
I think also the force of actuation, like for the user to make it bend.
Um, Actually, that was a problem with some of them. Like it depended on kind of the string that I used because like it's string like going through the whole device. So depending on the like string that I used, it was much like easier or harder to use it. And I kind of figured out like I have around 3 different types I think at my house. So I was able to like figure out for like smaller hands, like I kind of just used a lighter string, and for like bigger hands, I had to use like a much thicker one that was able to like move the whole device.
I think John's going in and out on the train. Jonathan, did you have any follow-up questions?
Not really. I think I want to commend you on getting being able to navigate the hub and stuff like that. Especially with Enable Web Central. I come to find out like it's really hard to navigate that resource. The way it's designed, it doesn't give an actual like timeline of how devices are submitted and requested. It actually organizes them based on how long they've been neglected. So it sounds like you've been able to reach out to the recipients, which is awesome. So keep up the good work is kind of the only thing I have to say.
I would plug Jonathan too as probably having the most access to unique bespoke materials on printers. If you need like a performance part, he's someone who has the most knowledge in that. And I'm surprised of how far you've been able to go with just like a PLA plus or like maybe some like PLA silk with like with some of the like oil mixed in. The PET G stuff definitely has better mechanical properties than fail states. And I'm curious if you've tried any more like advanced materials, like some of the nylon materials or the composite materials that have fibers in them.
I tried nylon, but it was honestly very hard to print, and I couldn't figure out the settings on my printer that made it work. So that didn't really work for me. And then also for the TPU that you were talking about earlier, there's a different type called Shore 85, and
Yep.
it's like much softer than the TPU, and that is also something that I use. So it's like easier.
There is a hack that Jonathan gave me like a month ago that's really been helping us with weird materials, which is this bed adhesion glue. It's a
Okay.
magical thing. Like we had been definitely using like a combination of like blue tape or glue stick. And
Yeah.
Jonathan had recommended this nanopolymer adhesive that is just magical at some of those materials that you can't really get a good first layer smush with.
Yeah. I had something like that, but this seems much more like high tech than what I have.
And a magic thing that Jonathan brought up with this that blew my mind was that you can apply it once and get close to 100 prints without reapplying it, and that the prints also release really easily when they cool down. So it wasn't like they were like fixed to the build plate. It was you just let it cool down and they pop off.
Oh, that's so nice. I want to say that's yeah, I have something like that, but not it could not do 100 prints, and it also honestly like doesn't work all the time. So
The other thing that's been really cool is like going between like extruded plastic and not quite all the way to like carbon fiber that's like formed, but the continuous fiber printers, of which there's a couple on the market now. So if you ever needed a continuous fiber print, I'm sure someone in the community could produce one pretty quickly that has like the speed and adaptability of FDM process, but some of the performance of like almost all the way to like a low-end aluminum in terms of durability.
oh, that seems very cool. I don't have that, but thank you so much. Yeah, I could see and reach
Are
out.
you familiar with what Ian is talking about there with like the fiber printing, continuous fiber?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so basically, if you think about it, right, so when you take a spool, if you took a spool of PLA, you completely melted it down and then put it back into a spool, it'd be the same thing, right? It's the same plastic all the way through and through. So they have spools, and it's funny because I feel so old when I say this. I remember when this was like future tech, and now it's like commonplace. You can get spools that have little bits of glass fiber in them, for example, or little bits of carbon fiber. And so what happens is that it becomes really, really strong in that direction. Um, yeah, so Jonathan just puts a thing, and I'll post a photo of it that will kind of explain it. Mark Forged is actually up the street from me, so they do that all the time. The parts are, to Ian's comment, they're the strength of aluminum. They're like strength to weight, basically aluminum, and you can make them in whatever you want, and they're dirt cheap.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so if you ever find yourself, and the reason why kind of Ian is offering these things and I'm trying to offer these things and Jonathan is you're making a lot of headway more than almost, I would be pretty confident saying more than almost anyone I've seen in a long time. And so we want to help support you. And so in doing so, we will support other people. So don't ever, if you ever run into an issue where you think something could be better, please reach out.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
And when you end up at Harvard or MIT, we're right down the street. But I think there's a lot of like R&D in this space that would be like, I think you could also push some of your prototyping with some of these emerging technologies that if you reached out on the hub, I'm sure there are lots of people that could help fill in the gaps. And a piece of that, I think, is your fundraising. Like it seems like you're being very successful with the fundraising, and it's really cool that you're doing that and bootstrapping that. It tells a great story. But also, like if that's detracting from your R&D and working with clients, someone else can help you fundraise.
Thank you.
John, did I see your hand go up? Well, we have about 20 minutes left in the meeting. And I wanted to also open up for any other topics we wanted to discuss. David, I haven't seen you in a while, and I know you've been working on some really cool projects. How are those going?
You're going slow. I think it's a tricky thing. It's tricky to work with a large group of people when you're trying to balance between like just doing everything yourself versus encouraging people to do it. But I think that that's in my mind that's like half of the product we make is not just the actual design file or the CAD or even the recipient. It's people who have those new skills, right? That is an output of the group. And in that way, I'd say we're pretty good. I'm hoping to have the first hand kind of done and out the door, sealed, signed, and delivered within the next month or so. And that will be kind of the total opposite of what a lot of e-NABLE is. It'll be a very simple hand with just a spring-loaded thumb. But it's yeah, I think it's going well. It's a little tricky.
The new design coming is really cool. I think there's a big opportunity to converge some of these designs into simpler, better things. I think you're one of the people pushing that forward the most. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, and if you, I always say this, but if you see something where you're like, this could be better, or can this be better, let us know. My goal is to kind of keep my scope very constrained to like more of the design side than working with the actual recipients right now. So if you have students who want to come in, or if you have projects that you think could use a little horsepower, let me know.
Cool. I think there's sort of a bunch of different ways into this. The 3D scanning aspect is really cool, especially like what ASU is doing with that low photo count photogrammetry into customizable designs. The customization process being more accessible is a great one. I also think like then what asset are we customizing is like the next step in the chain. And then what occupational therapy task is that accomplishing? It's sort of the last step in the chain. And I wanted to bring up just one more topic here that I saw in the hub, and I'm sure a bunch of us got this email. I have to make it smaller, it's too big. But the Uganda chapter reached out again with more requests. And if anyone is looking for meaningful work to do, it seems like they are the most organized group with the most recipients to give feedback over and over again. And I'll put their contact info in here in the chat. And that is through the hub, so you can just reach out on the hub. But they also put like an email and a WhatsApp to get in contact. And we know that a bunch of people have been making devices for them. They have over 800 identified cases. So definitely a lot of need in one spot that will get good feedback and immediate iteration. And one thing that's on my mind, I teach an intro to engineering class where one of the 2-week projects is assembling one of the e-NABLE hands, mainly as intro to open source hardware. So we're not fitting to individuals. We're doing it to learn about good documentation, both written and video, and where the gaps are, and then hopefully contribute some of those solutions back to the e-NABLE community to improve documentation. And as a result, we end up with about 10 e-NABLE hands, 10 to 15 e-NABLE hands per academic year that are not fit to an individual, but maybe could be used as a touchstone for new makerspaces starting off, like showing the menu of what's possible, or sending to some international places where they could be adapted further. So I am going to have like a bucket of kinetic hands that I can hand off sometime in May to a group in need. And I'll probably post those on the hub. But in the last couple years, we have been sending them off. John, we sent some to Panama. I think you were down there in person. So we're looking for the next group that could use non-bespoke hands, just like a standard model, maybe as a touchstone or a menu of offerings. And I know a lot of us end up accumulating these. And I always want to keep a couple examples in the classroom, but I think it's great if we could get them to more places that could use them in interesting ways. Sometimes even our prototyping can make an impact. And if there's other topics to discuss, we could. But one thing I always want to bring up in these conversations is like new tech. If there is any conversation about like what machines you're using, what materials you're using, what software you're using, I think that's a great topic. And I always learn a lot from Jonathan in these calls about what I should be trying out new material wise or new printers on the horizon. Anything anyone is excited about. The one that keeps coming up in conversations is the SnapMaker U1.
I'm actually looking at thermoforming, like small scale thermoforming, which is,
Cool.
I know, I always feel a little out of place in these groups because everyone is looking at 3D printing and kind of trying to make everything as bespoke as possible. And I'm always trying to make everything as standard and uniform. But I'm actually looking at doing thermoforming for the first time. It's like thermoforming is the last process that I've never really done myself. I've done extrusion, I've done molding to Kingdom Kong.
Yeah.
Thermoforming is the last one I've never done myself. And I'm very excited about that. I'm going to be doing that in the next month and a half, not for e-NABLE just yet, but the idea being potentially to be able to do it. And the tough part is, right, if you're thermoforming, Layla, do you know what thermoforming is?
Yeah, actually, I did that in Egypt and then also in Australia. They worked with thermoforming.
So you did thermoforming for like around a hand, right? You did it like the thermoforming I'm describing is like much hotter, and it's if you go to those like CVS and you buy something and it comes in a plastic container, it has like a clear plastic, and you take the container apart, the plastic is still in that shape. So that's like the same type of thermoforming. The principle between what you did and what I'm looking at is almost the same. The difference is like the heat and the structure. And so you can thermoform those parts. That's one I have not done, but I wouldn't say it's new tech. I would just say it's new to me.
We have a little Maku that I like there. It's like a little desktop unit, very limited. The best one in the Boston area that I think a normal person without a lab badge can get access to is the one at Artisans Asylum that they DIY'd. It's
Yeah.
big. It's like I think 18-inch horizontal or maybe 24-inch diagonal.
I helped put that together. I'm very
Yeah, so I'm super impressed by that because that pulls vacuum.
yes,
The vacuum on it is way better than a vacuum cleaner.
yes. And
And
what's
that's the one that I would love to DIY someday. Basically a George Foreman grill, right? With like a vacuum chamber that you fill with a compressor and then can evacuate very quickly.
yeah, the interesting part to me is how do we make the tooling for it? How do we make
Yeah.
the thing that it forms into? And that's where I think 3D printing can really shine because those tools historically are like $10,000 plus.
Yeah. So I didn't know that. I think we've talked about this. You mentioned that you had built that, been involved in that build before. We reached out. We had a crazy project. We get asked, impossible things every day. One of them was they wanted to make one of the busts in our library out of mycelium. We're like, great, we don't know much about growing mushrooms, but we can help you find a bust. We have like 15 to 20 heads around the library. There's a Da Vinci head, there's a JFK head, there's a Gandhi head. Some of the more recent donations, we probably don't want to, like the foundation doesn't want their person made out of mushrooms. But we found Zeus. Zeus is from the year 400. No one feels like they own Zeus. So we 3D scanned a copy of Zeus and then ran out of tools, and it's big. It's bigger than life size. So we reached out to a bunch of different maker spaces, and at Artisans Asylum, they were nice enough to give us like the machine time in trade for our positive. So we traded a positive of Zeus's head
Oh, that's cool.
for making the form. And the problem was the undermold. Zeus has a big beard, and so we had to figure out so that the form wouldn't attach to the beard and never be removable. The hardest part about that project, we had a narrow window of access with someone to help us. And they had no clay. We had not any clay we had access to. We ended up going to two different Walgreens to buy all of their Play-Doh, to pack the beard full of Play-Doh between here and when it was at Somerville.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
and it came out great on that. That machine really has the vacuum to get the details.
Yes.
Because with a shop vac, you just can't like get that form to really fit as well.
Yeah, it's always tricky with how much heat and how much vacuum and how much pressure and all that stuff you want to use. I actually am sorry, I'm gonna have to head out, but Layla, you have my contact info and everyone else here has it as well. I'm also on the hub. Feel free to let me know if there's anything we can do to help.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
It looked like you were using a Creality printer. Do you know which machine?
Yeah, I had a Creality like Ender 3 in the beginning, but then I just recently got a Bamboo like handy one, that one. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm like using.
The bamboos we're seeing them become the industry standard. And
Yeah.
last week we were talking, we have this like difficult decision this summer. We're building some new classrooms. Do we go Prusa or do we go bamboo? And we haven't fully decided yet. We're sort of vetting both still.
Yeah.
How's your bamboo experience been?
I really like it. I was introduced to it in like Australia and then I got one when I came back. I think it prints much faster than my Creality one. But the thing that I have had trouble with it is like the TPU. So I still use my like old one for TPU, but the Bamboo for like PLA and PLA Plus is much faster and
Well,
it
and especially like the 85A, it's very soft and can cause
yeah.
binding problems.
Yeah, exactly.
I think tweaking the profile could definitely help. Jonathan might have some profile tips.
Okay.
But the number one thing with as you get down to squishier TPU is making sure retraction is off.
Okay. Yes.
Don't run the motor backwards. And I know that especially with filament changes, it usually cuts and purges forwards, but if you run, it's like pushing a rope, right? If you push
Yeah.
rope, it bends and binds. So anyway, you can have continuous forward pressure
Okay.
on the TPU generally seems to help. And there's probably if you look around, there's probably a public profile. If you look for that shore hardness on that machine,
Mhm.
someone probably released a public profile that gets you most of the way there.
Okay. Thank you. I'll definitely look into that.
And if your problem isn't extrusion, it's adhesion, that glue that Jonathan suggested has been changing our workflow. It's really magical.
Yeah, for sure.
John, in our last couple of minutes, is there anything you want to have us discuss as a group? It's great to see you.
It's nice to be here. I'm sorry that my connection has been so intermittent. Well, I'm just wondering what we can do to clone Layla and figure out how to make it easier for others to follow the path she found. She clearly demonstrates that it's possible, but it's so rare for people to be able to find their way through the forest that is the e-NABLE hub that I really have to give it some thought. Layla, you're busy, you're a junior in high school, but you know, we are a duocracy and we really believe in young leaders and supporting them. So if you have any thoughts about what you can, how you can make contributions to the community as well as to the people you're serving directly, we'd be very interested in trying to find ways of supporting that.
Thank you so much. I definitely think that like there should be a way that people can find cases that are like that's easier than it is now, but I honestly don't really know how you would change the website to make it like that because right now I'm kind of just putting in like the number of the case until I like find the right one. So it kind of takes a
Right.
while. But I think if that was like if you like figure out a way kind of to change the website a little bit, then it would make it much
Well,
easier.
there you go. So you know, the e-NABLE Web Central has become something of a roach motel. People, you know, check in and then their entries become lost. I'm pleased that you've managed to do archaeology there, but I think it's probably disappointing more people than it's satisfying. I'm inclined to think that we should pull the plug And maybe we can pull the plug and let you continue to mine it for opportunities that haven't gone dead. The real solution, and maybe you'd be interested in doing this, is to systematically reach out to organizations, give a presentation like what you did, and explain that we're available, right? To go to organizations that already have as members or as clients people with the kinds of disabilities we can help, and to do that kind of outreach to organizations. And
I have
someone with
two
your experience,
recommendations.
and okay, go.
Two recommendations, a short term and a long term. Short term, e-NABLE can be a slippery slope and take a lot of time. And I would recommend to time box your time with like something like an office hours. I sort of view this as like my monthly office hours with the group and what can I do to have a conversation. But I think like time boxing it, and by that I mean like reserving a regular time where you can work on this. And I think working in public is really great with e-NABLE. Like have people drop in and talk, ask questions. Like that's a great way in. And it also helps limit the scope creep of the projects because you have time to do them. The other thing that I think is ripe for this community is the agentic AI tools. Like someone could take on a summer project or a team could to revamp big swaths of how these systems work very rapidly with emerging tools. Uh, you could use GPT's codex, or you could use VS Code with some of the new agent layers, or you could use Claude Code. And I think we could like revamp these systems very rapidly. And there's better models coming later this year. So I think the nature of work is changing in that I don't think technical debt exists in the same way that it did 6 months ago. And we could really change how we operate some of these front ends ways people experience e-NABLE.
Well,
Yeah. Wait, I think that's a great idea to change the website using like AI. That can definitely, because AI has been like advancing so much, and I even used Claude to like make my own website. It was much easier. I had tried like 3 times before using like websites available, but AI was able to do it just like a few hours me talking with it. So that helped so much. So I think that would be a great idea if like someone was able to just take, I think probably like even in like over the summer, if they just took that and like talked with AI, then they would be able
I
to.
think we could do like an e-NABLE hackathon over like a weekend and like have like 4 work products that dramatically change these systems, like you're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Ian, what's the summer looking like for you? Would Brandeis like to host that hackathon?
We could do a sprint. We could definitely figure out the right time to do a little sprint. And we're building these agentic tools. I'm teaching 3 classes now. We've done workshops in all of them. We're building it into public makerspace workshops all summer. We're going to have new offerings in the fall. Every class I'm teaching in the fall is going to have this as a core of their methodology. Like we're reinventing our own academic culture here around the future of the liberal arts. And I
Sure.
think a huge part of it is using these tools to affect our digital environment the way printers affected our built environment. So anything that is code, anything that is data, we can now reach out to and manipulate way more accessibly across every major.
Well, that's been my experience also. I joke that I've had a spoon event in my back office here in Rochester. I now have a chief of staff, a CTO, a communications agent, and it's actually working. It's quite extraordinary. But I don't have the capacity to say, hey, suddenly we can redesign the whole e-NABLE system. If you wanted to organize a 2 or 3 day hackathon up for Brandeis, and a few $1,000s or something from our budget would make it possible for people like Leila to come up for a couple of days. And you had some students who could do it and wanted to make it happen. I think you're right. It's long overdue, but I think this is the summer when it could be done.
Yeah, let me workshop this with my team, and I'll bring this up as a topic in our next e-NABLE when we convene. We're going to be doing this all summer internally, so I'm sure there's a right moment to fit it in. One of the things we're doing is like we want to build our own project management tool for our makerspace, and we already have a bunch of those aspects put together, and we want to launch that and start living in it and be ready for the fall. And this is a similar thing. We kind of want to do the project management tool for e-NABLE that involves a community hub.
Well, and uh, one of the things I'm working on for the Eco Restoration Alliance is I want all of the information of, for example, the hub to be part of the AI's knowledge base so that it can make the kinds of connections that I can do when I'm on my game, but it ought to be able to do a better job. It should know everyone. It should say, you should talk to so-and-so, have that information available, and potentially, and my agents are capable of doing this already, potentially participate in hub conversations that way.
It's a very exciting time. And I think e-NABLE is a great organization to start asking some of these questions and have like really actual meaningful outputs in the medium term.
I am increasingly seeing that in the area, which is where I'm spending a lot of. I am sort of to bring together artificial intelligence, human intelligence, collective social intelligence, and the intelligence of nature. But I think that sort of a system whose goal is to sort of integrate and facilitate and align those various forms of collaborative intelligence is absolutely essential for the future of our species. And strangely, we're in a good position to prototype it because our motives are fairly rare in this world, right? We're actually not here fundamentally to get really rich. We're here fundamentally to try to enable the future, as they say. So I could get on board with something like this, Ian. I would participate, but I can't organize it.
Yeah,
but
I could definitely help organize
a
it.
Flagship
We could
event
have
for
people show up.
Brandeis and what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it could be like an asynchronous global event. And there's some super low-hanging fruit, like send an agent to go download every 3D file on the hub and then standardize them as a set of step files, right? Like that's like an afternoon project now. And that's crazy. Like we've been in a locked triangular mesh environment for a decade.
Yeah.
We could unlock that in an afternoon.
Okay.
We'll make a list, and next
Okay.
month I'll start this education meeting around, do we want to do this global hackathon-y thing? That sounds very new member education kind of meetup topic.
Great. And for that matter, it may be the answer to the question, what are we going to do with Jonathan's well-earned retirement? I think the critical thing is the bad administration. And with all due respect, I suspect that we could replace him with the right AI system by the end of the summer.
Okay, I'll put that as a topic here too. You're not being replaced. Yeah.
That's right.
We're gonna put you in more interesting future work when you have the capacity.
Hey,
no one
just
can
make
replace
sure to
Jonathan.
call the AI tool and just name it Jonathan and I'll be good.
Awesome.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
I have to run
and
we're a little over time, so we should wrap up.
Okay. All right.
But
Thank
Layla,
you
I would
all.
recommend that you like see if you want to hold an office hour, sort of like this in the future. I think people would find it very valuable.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Layla, I do want to make sure you understand that you are sort of the personification of what we are aiming for.
Thank you.
And if you can find a way to help us rethink what e-NABLE is and to make it work, you'll get plenty of support and it will be a great thing for you. Also, I want to make sure you notice that Ian has implicitly offered to pave your way to Brandeis, which would be a great environment for someone like you.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thanks for making this happen.
Thank
Sarah and Jonathan will be in touch, but thanks for everything you've been doing with us and for us.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Sarah. Thank you for organizing us as always.
All right.